All right. Well, welcome everybody. I see the room is still filling up here quite a bit, which whenever you throw a legal topic out there, that's like throwing sugar on the ground to get ants. I mean, that's one of those things I would hope that we could all agree on. Well, we don't. Let me ask you, because here's a great way to get started. As some of you are still filing in, you've got all kinds of ways to participate today, and you got to know this stuff because DEI organizations and companies are dropping like flies, and I kind of feel like Chicken Little over here, who's right. And so we'll talk a lot about the law and how you want to make sure that what you are doing is legal. And let me just preface this. We absolutely have to make sure that we're following the law in what we're doing. And my favorite saying is, you tell me what you want to do and I'll tell you how to do it. Now, you can open your mic if you want. That is fantastic. I love it when people speak up, particularly with as tricky as some of this stuff is here today. And I expect you to take this back to your organizations and use it. And take it to your associations. There are chambers of commerce across the state of Ohio that are teaching illegal tactics as we speak right now. Now, another session later, we will get started and talk about stereotyping and racism and bigotry that's happening. But today we're focusing on the law. And I will tell you, you cannot sling a dead cat and not hit an HR group in this state whose programming isn't illegal. Okay, now, having said all that, you can open your mic. You can use your little emojis down here, which Zoom apparently has made some more improvements, which now, confuses me. All right, here we go. How many people think, there's my hand, how many people think you should follow the law? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Getting, all right, all these hands out there. See, this is an easy way. And I just love it. And I look over here, Bronwyn, I can see you, Rick, and everybody. I like it. It's almost like we're together. Okay, not exactly, but kind of close. All right, yeah, yeah. So I mean, you gotta laugh at this stuff, or you slit your wrists. I'll tell you right now. Okay, well, yes, I agree. Well, I agree, and you're gonna see me looking back and forth here a little bit, and I'm just looking at the chat because it's a little tough to keep up on the chat as I'm doing these things. Okay, so if you speak up, that's great. If I see you in the chat, I will recognize that and we'll talk about it. Okay, well, let's get off to the races here. I am so thrilled, absolutely, to start a chapter of Ohio Fair. Okay, and there's our web address. The Fair people have been wonderful. We got ourselves our website now. And I've been doing podcasts for several years now, but now we're going to join FAIR. And FAIR is the Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. So you can hit fairforall.org/Ohio, and that'll take you right to our website. And let me make this clear. This is free to join. The topics we're going to talk about in here are too important to charge people for. Let me say that again. It's too important. Let me ask you, another thing here to raise your hand or chat me up or open your mic. We always love that. How many people have kids? How many people? Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe ask you, how many people know you have kids? All right. Maybe that's a better question. All right. Absolutely. I will tell you right now, I think I am better prepared to fight this fight than my sons. And grandkids, oh, Kathy, they count. Grandkids count. Actually, let me tell you right now, when my wife and I and my brother and my sister had kids, I found out real fast, your kids don't matter. Grandkids matter. That's what matters. Okay, they outrank you in a minute. I believe we are creating a world of hate. and I can't stand it. Absolutely. We are going to talk a lot about humanization. We're going to talk about the law. We're going to talk about all these things to make a safe and fair environment. So if you go to the fairforall.org/Ohio/ or backslash, I should say, you'll see all kinds of information there. You will see our how to register for our podcast. If you have not already joined Ohio Fair, join us. Join us. And I'll tell you, we've already got a few hundred people, but we're launching it today. And I want input. What do you want Ohio to look like? Make Ohio fair. And there's a link right there. Take you right to FAIR itself. You can join FAIR. I suggest you do that as well. And there are news updates. Okay. And I'll tell you, this is a non-political, nonpartisan, human organization. The only requirement is that you are human. And you're allowed to have your opinion. And those of you who are familiar with me, if you're already on my mailing list, I still recommend you join Ohio Fair. And if you are in Kentucky or Indiana, which does not have a chapter yet, you are welcome here. We're going to do a lot of stuff digitally. And so, hey, we need strength together. All right. But I've been doing podcasts for a few years now, and there's going to be links to my website where you can see these recordings. We have about 700 people signed up today, but I have discovered very quickly that things come up. They come up. And so the recording is going to be posted pretty soon after this. So I hope to have it up by Monday or Tuesday. So if you want to listen to it again, and I've had a lot of folks say, oh my gosh, I wish my CEO was here. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so a little pitch there. On the Ohio Fair website, you will see the upcoming podcast schedule, and you can listen to all the previous podcasts. We want this message out. And again, I looked for a lot of different organizations, and I was so impressed with FAIR because it is for everyone. It truly is a diverse group of people, and we do not hate somebody because of their opinion or who they are. And that is not true in most of traditional DEI programs. And that's what's killing them. Okay, so what we got coming up? Well, I've just sort of planned a little bit of a schedule for the rest of this year. But hey, let's look to see for 2025 or anything else we want to do. This is your group. Okay, so next week we are going to look at the root of the problem. The mighty subconscious. Okay, and I will tell you right now, we are going to talk a lot about the brain and how it works. And why do you have a subconscious? Because your fight or flight and emotional system can move at 17 thousandths of a second. You don't even know it. It's so fast. Okay, the rest of your brain moves at 264 miles an hour. Isn't even close. So I'll tell you, that's going to be a fun one. And then we're going to look at dehumanization. We've got to start treating each other like humans. And I'll tell you, I'm going to show you firsthand when you dehumanize somebody, like all those people, all those whatever, there's a part of your brain that is dedicated to empathy that shuts down. It turns off. That's how you get Rwanda. That's how you get Nazi Germany. That's how you get someone killing somebody and not thinking anything about it because they're not human. All right, so we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. All right, let's get off to the races here. Fundamental beliefs for today. And those of you who we haven't met, let me just sort of clue you in here. I am Scott Warwick. I am an employment attorney. Soon, I will be practicing employment law for 29 years. And employment law, anybody who's familiar with it, 90% of it is civil rights. Okay, so I believe, FAIR believes, no one should be bullied or discriminated against because they're different. Okay, now, what do we think? Are we going along with that? How many people give me a thumbs up or give me a yeah or whatever, so it's all fair game? Is that fair? Yeah, Aaron's telling me this. Yep, oh, look at all. I hope you can see all these wonderful, wonderful thumbs going up. Okay, so we agree on that. Everyone should be able to go to work every day in an environment that is safe. It's safe. That means nobody's going to shoot you. That means you're not going to get your fingers cut off. But no one is going to bully you because you're white, because you're black, because you're whatever, because you're disabled. Are we all in agreement on that one? I'm giving you my thumbs up here. Let me ask a better question. Are your CEOs in favor of that? Linda's giving me a good yes over here. So we got all kinds of things cooking in the pot. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I got canceled because I believe that. I got canceled. And I am not kidding. Groups that I started 40 years ago canceled me. Okay. Conferences that I helped to build, spoke there over 20 times, got canceled because of this. All right. Well, I tell you, see why I'm so glad to find fair? All right. So here we go. I have been knee deep in diversity for years. Why? Because civil rights and employment law go hand in hand with tolerance. Okay. And I'll tell you, just my smart aleck sense of humor here. My tolerance book, the original title was Tolerance and Diversity for White Guys and Other Human Beings. Okay, how many white guys we got here? Let me just clarify too. That's okay. It's okay to be a white guy. It's okay. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We figured it out pretty quick. Is it okay to be a white guy? Okay, so we got white guys here. How many humans do we have here? That's everybody. And I will tell you right now, I never thought in my lifetime, and I will tell you right now, I'm very proud of my age. I'm going to turn 64 next month. Okay. Phoenix, I'm a cat. honest Phoenix, let me tell you, there are a lot of days I wish I was a beloved pet. Absolutely. That would be the life, wouldn't it? But let me tell you, for all this time, I have heard illegal programming. I have spoken at over 25 DEI conferences, and I was a SHRM national presenter 7 times. I will never go back. I have tried and tried and tried and tried to change things and just get laughed at. And was actually told, no, it's okay to illegally discriminate against these people, like white guys, because they've caused so many problems in the past. No. And I'm trying to bring everybody together with tolerance and diversity for white guys and other human beings. That got me death threats. I am not kidding. Death threats that we are the problem. I should shut up and die. So I changed the title to Living the 5 Skills of Tolerance. Okay, it's the same thing. One is a PC title, and the other one is the smart aleck title that I like. Okay, it hasn't worked. 25 years of my life down the drain. Down the drain. Okay, now let me just give you a perfect example. National Diversity Council. I signed up to work with them over a year ago. And I went through the orientation and everything. And some of my discussions were that, we have got to stop stereotyping anybody. No one should be discriminated against, because all you're doing is alienating people. And when you punch a punching bag, it comes back. If you hit any human, I call this big boomerang bigotry. You throw that boomerang at hate at somebody, it's coming right back at you. And illegal programming. Illegal programming. We can't do this anymore. All right, because it's going to get you canceled. Okay, I got canceled. This is just one of the many groups where I am no longer welcome. And guess what? In September of this year, the National Diversity Council, with over 80,000 members, they put 1 million people through training, went bankrupt. I think most people, so much for inclusive. Thank you, David. Yeah, inclusive. I can use a term But what is inclusive? Inclusive means I'm going to let these people in, I'm going to push these people out. So guess what? National Diversity Council, which was started well over 20 years ago by Dennis Kennedy, is gone. They would not change their perspective. And let me tell you, this is life and death. It truly is. Now, why did I ask if you had kids or grandkids? Because I am going to fight this fight. And I think 90% of everybody in my audiences, they agree. No one should be discriminated against. It's the people running some of these things that are stuck to traditional methods. And it's a message of hate. Change your perspective. Are you making it safe? Are you I want this. And those of you who have been to my sessions, I hope you are enjoying your buttons. Every time I get upset, I make a new button. And let me tell you, I was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful group of folks. I've joined the Chillicothe HR chapter. I was there yesterday presenting. Fantastic group of people, because they really don't care what your skin color is. They don't care what your religion is. Are you a good person? That is a rarity today. That is a rarity today. So are you making it safe? Now, let me ask you, is the law important? Yes. If the HR profession, which encompasses DEI, was a person, the law would be the feet. You cannot take a step without making sure you're doing it legally. And if you take a wrong step, you will go the way of the National Diversity Council. Absolutely. So that's why we're here today. So we're going to look at a lot of issues here with the law. And I'll tell you, when I describe this stuff to my former chapter and other groups and things like this about what's legal and illegal, I just get this dumb stare. I just get this look like, what's wrong with you? This is the way we've always done it. Okay, well, let's start off here. We're going to look at DEI and Title VII, illegal discrimination, because I have never been to a DEI conference ever in my life where I haven't heard some speaker get up there and profess illegal tactics. Illegal tactics, not questionable, illegal. Now, what are we talking about here with illegal? So let's make sure we're all on the same page. Pretty simple to understand. These are your major federal protected classes. Everybody's familiar with civil rights, right? Oh, here's a good one, Shelley. Is there such a thing as legal discrimination? Oh, absolutely. What's legal discrimination? The Bengals. The Bengals. Can I fire you if I live in an employment at will state? I can fire you because you're a Bengals fan and you're in Browns country right now. Actually, there was a guy in Chicago who's a car salesman. The weekend, the Bears were playing the Packers, and this guy shows up in Chicago with a Green Bay Packer tie. Well, they fired him. Stupid. There's no law against stupid. Everybody gets that, right? We don't arrest people with stupid because there's just not enough prisons, okay? Stupid, but legal. Now, Shelley, let's look at this. What if on the way out the door, somebody said or texted, because you do realize this is where most of your evidence is today. Texts, emails. It's about time we got rid of that old fart. How are you? Okay, what have we done?
Are you're not off, or you were off yesterday, but not today. You're worried. Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to bug you. Well, I sent the email this morning about the people not passing the bar, but I imagine they're going to discuss it and make a decision about what to happen before.
There we go. I found the button. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. Crisis averted. There we go. Okay. It's a protected class. You cannot. Now, let me make sure. It's not just hiring and firing. You can't base an employment decision on someone's protected class as a general rule. I can't say I need this color of person, race, color, religion, national origin, sex, and do not forget, hey, I want you to see what kind of a safe environment you got. in 1990, or I'm sorry, in 2020, see, my mind's just off track here. In 2020, the United States Supreme Court, in the Bostick decision, gave us sexual orientation and gender identity as protected classes because those are interpreted under sex. So let me ask you, if Bob comes into work on Friday, Monday, Bob has transitioned over the weekend, comes in as Betty. So Betty now comes in. Betty is wearing a dress, a wig, shaved really close, fingernails are all done. Would someone in your organization make it unsafe for Betty? Oh, that means we've got work to do. No. And I'll tell you, I have to fight to make sure that Betty is safe, because if Betty isn't safe, I'm not safe. My kids aren't safe. And that's true of age. Age is one of those things where we have acceptable racism or acceptable bigotry. Why? Oh my gosh, we don't think anything of making fun of old people. And as of next month, when I turn 64, according to the Beatles, I'll be officially old. I will turn 64, so I'll be officially old. I kind of get grouchy about that stuff. Pregnancy, American with Disabilities Act. So you get all that? Okay, what's the problem? Okay. Oh, by the way, those of you who are in Ohio, we have ELUA, which is the Employment Law Uniformity Act. What's that mean? If you are picking on Betty, or if you are discriminating against somebody who is white or black or Asian or whatever, do you realize in Ohio that we can sue the organization and anyone who aids, abets, and sells, incites, or compels or coerces retaliation or discrimination? That's you, human resource people. You have liability. And if someone like me is on the other side, I name everybody and let God sort them out. That's the way you do it. Okay, so, and understand there's other states like that too, not just Ohio. So you see there's liability here. Now, Mark Cuban, everybody's familiar with Mark Cuban, right? I'll tell you, it's just interesting. He was testifying before Congress. Now understand, this is what he believes. Just oblivious. He says, I only ever hire the person that will put my business in the best position to succeed. And yes, race and gender can be part of the equation. I view diversity as a competitive advantage. And that was earlier in 2024. That is patently illegal. And I'll tell you, when you testify before Congress, Andrea Lucas takes notice, the head of the EEOC. She came out and said, unfortunately, you're dead wrong on the black letter Title VII law. And if he, Mr. Cuban, is using it, like race or gender, as a factor, now get this wording, and even if it is not the only factor, or even the dispositive factor, if it is any part of the decision, then it's a motivating factor, and that is illegal. Actually, now David gave us a great comment here. This is sad. I expected more and different from him. But you kind of see in our society, this is the way we're thinking. We're programmed. The National Diversity Council put 1 million people through training. Oh my God. Okay. Now they don't exist anymore, but remember, I have never been to a conference of DEI where someone didn't profess illegal tactics. And let me go even more. This is right from the Ohio Department of Education. And understand, I am in a podcast, and they put this in the chat. So I can't, misquote them. It's permissible to illegally discriminate against white males in order to make up for the past sins that have been committed against blacks. So let me make sure I got this right. These horrible things that have happened to African Americans, blacks here in this country with redlining, go all the way back to Tulsa, all these types of things. What we want to do is we want to pick some random white male and poke him in the eye illegally. No. Is that going to tick off white people? And what do people do? What do all people do when you hit them? They hit you back. That's that boomerang bigotry. Phoenix has given us a good comment. Probably just legal discrimination if it's not based on protected class. Yeah, absolutely, Phoenix. Yeah, I'm not on a protected class. I'm not saying it might be right, but it's legal. You know, all those people who wear red shirts that you want to fire under employment at will. Yeah, as long as it's not something that is related to, you know, like Mormonism, like the white shirts and things like this. But you kind of see, this is acceptable bigotry. Now, this is what I'm hearing, and this is what got me canceled. This is what I'm hearing point blank in the HR organization that I helped founded back in 1986. Speakers get up and they say companies need to establish a mentoring program for Black employees. Another speaker got up and said, you need to form mentorships to help Latino women. Okay. Does anybody hear anything illegal? Oh, yes. What would Andrea Lucas say? Your butt is mine. That's what she would say. Okay. No. Now, think about this. Shouldn't we adopt mentoring programs for anybody who wants them? And let me just give you a tip here for your recruiting and things like this. As of October 1st, there are 1.4 jobs, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 1.4 jobs in America for every unemployed person who is looking for a job. Not people that don't want a job, they're on unemployment, but people who are actually looking for work. That means there are 40% more jobs than there are people because the baby boomers are dying and retiring. Okay, now think about this. The prospecting for talent. I want mentoring programs for everyone. Now, it's really interesting because I'll often get the question, well, yeah, but how would they know? How would someone know? Okay, well, I'm going to go to my experts here. There's all my experts sitting off here to my right in our session today. How do you get rid of a text? Anybody have an idea for me? How do you get... Okay, let me just clue you in. The whole world of discovery has changed. The last case yeah, you don't, Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie. It's good to see you there. You know, last case I did work on, we had 40 cell phones that we subpoenaed. I always love this. Well, that's my personal cell phone. You can't have it. No, you really don't. You really don't understand. You know what a subpoena is, right? You kind of, you know, watch Law and Order. A subpoena allows me to get your gallstones if I want them. If I can show that there could be a reason or reasonable cause, and guess what? Every single one of them was smoking. Okay, how do you prove these cases? Well, that's one thing. Emails, texts. And how many people here, here's a good question, I think, you are willing to perjure yourself for your employer? I'll give you my emoji. Anybody here willing to perjure yourself in deposition? You do realize that deposition is all designed to catch you contradicting each other. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but let me tell you. I mean, look at me. All right. I will not perjure myself. I would not fare well in prison. Okay. Let me tell you right now, I have delicate features. Okay. I am not prison material. All right. You'll get caught. And employers are dropping like flies. And what's really sad, you're getting this from your HR association. You're getting this from the people who are supposed to be teaching you stuff. And let me tell you right now, if you go to any association, a chamber meeting, a safety meeting, a HR meeting, and that speaker gets up there and tells you an illegal tactic, and you go and you try it, and it blows up on you, you can sue the organization itself. You can sue each and every one of those board members individually after their house and all of the companies these board members represent. Okay, so you can see, I want you to be messengers out here. If you belong to some of these, and I'm not just talking Ohio, this is happening in Kentucky, in Oregon. Oh, welcome to the Oregon people. Just got some of those folks in here. Thrilled to have you. And there's a fair organization in Oregon. I recommend that you join. Don't teach illegal tactics. Now, I'll tell you, I just love the Wizard of Oz, and it's just the perfect quote. Dorothy asks the Scarecrow, well, how can you talk if you haven't got a brain? And the Scarecrow replies, I don't know. But some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they? Life's little truisms, folks. And let me tell you, Stephen Miller and his organization, they are on fire. American first. And rightfully so. I agree with Stephen Miller. Absolutely. I have audited several HR departments across my 41 years in HR. I've never seen a legal one. I have never seen a legal one. What's that mean? It means you're a bird on a wire. And I'll just write out and tell me, well, we have to do this to increase the number of Black people we have working here. No. Let me tell you what you do to increase your minority pool, your minority count at work is you increase the pool of applicants. Okay? I've got businesses that maybe have 50, 60 employees, and for certain positions, they do an entire search of the state. And you know what? That's legal, and you're getting the best person, but I'm sorry, that's a lot of work for the recruiter. Yes, I'm sorry, you're actually going to have to work for your commission. Yeah. But I'll tell you right now, that's fair. Now, let me look at one other thing here. Directly tied to what we've been talking about is disparate treatment. I treated you in a bad way. I intentionally discriminated against you. Disparate impact. That's another theory in the law where we have unintentional discrimination. It's like this system we're using, we didn't know was illegal, but it harmed these people. Okay, now let me give you probably the most famous case for this. And this is Ricci versus De Stefano. Okay, so here's what's happening. Okay, all of these firefighters, and there's Frank Ricci and Ben Vargas there, they passed the test for either captain or lieutenant. All of these people, firefighters, took these tests, okay? And not enough minorities passed. And minorities, I mean Black, because Mr. Vargas is Hispanic. Okay, since not enough Black firefighters passed, the city refused. New Haven, Connecticut refused to certify the results and denied these guys their promotion. Okay, now, everybody's with me? They're not saying that you intentionally did this, but what they're saying is the test is flawed. There's bias in the test. And you've all heard this, disparate impact, you look at a statistic. Okay, now I talk about things that I can enter into evidence in court. Now, let me just show you how this works, because it's really pretty simple. Yes, here's what disparate impact looks like in a court of law. Okay, so we're just looking at the lieutenant's test here. Oh, and by the way, when I post the video, I'm going to post all these slides so that you can see them. And I'm going to actually post an entire write-up that goes on for 12, 13 pages on this case, because it's a land-breaking case. Just amazing. 43 white firefighters took the test. 25 passed. 19 Black firefighters took the test, and 6 passed. Okay, so 58% of the whites passed, and 32% of the blacks. So you see, right now, we're just looking pure statistics. And I want you to really think about this, because statistics are used all the time to justify illegal activity. Okay, but let me tell you, statistics without causation is not admissible into court. Oh, and by the way, no sociologist would ever publish a study where there's just statistics. You got to show that there's causation. Let me give you an example. Okay, let's talk football again. I'm going to make a bold statement here. If the AFC wins the Super Bowl in 2025, the stock market will go up. Okay, everybody's heard that before, something like that? Okay, yeah. That's actually true. That does bear out in most years. So that is true. But there's no causation. It's just luck. It's just a bare statistic. Okay, so we've got a discrepancy going on here, but we don't know what it is. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's see if this is enough of a discrepancy. So what we do, and you have to remember all this, I just want you to remember causation, and there is a discrepancy. If you divide the 32% of the black employees who passed by the 58, you got an overall ratio of 55%. What's that mean? Well, the ratio is less than 80%. Now, freeze right here. We have a statistical fact that something is wrong. Something is wrong. And what the city of New Haven is saying, well, the test, can everybody hear me okay? Okay, yeah. Tanya, you might want to check your speaker, because, yeah, it's coming through. Okay. But let me get back here. It's less than 80%. So there's an inference that something happened. So, and it could be illegal. It could be something that is against blacks that's illegal. So here we go. We got to figure out what it is. Was there unintentional discrimination? Okay, well, let's look at the test. So New Haven went back and they said, look, there's a problem with the test, whatever. Like Mr. Ricci and the firefighter said, no, you developed this test for this job. And they hired this big agency, spent tens of thousands of dollars, and all my firefighter friends out there will relate to this. What you've got here is a bona fide test where it was developed specifically for this fire department. And more than that, all of the firefighters were given a big, thick binder with all the answers in it, and they knew what they were going to be asked. Okay, but it's hard. Okay, Mr. Ricci, who suffers from dyslexia, paid somebody $1,000, and $1,000 back in 2009 was really worth a lot more than it is today, to record this stuff so that he could study. Okay, so he studied like a dog, and these other firefighters studied like a dog, and the firefighters who were black who passed, they studied like dogs. No one could show any bias at all in the test. None. No bias. So guess what? That means there's something else. It's something else. So New Haven, show us something else that would have less disparate impacts, because you're striking out on the causation of the test to these scores. Everybody with me? That's what I want you to remember. Causation. You got any statistic, and that's disparate impact. Well, you only hire these number of people, and now you have more white people. You should have hired more Latinos. Well, okay, is there causation? Maybe the answer is we don't have any Latinos who live in this area, and nobody wants to relocate. There's your causation. That is how you properly analyze something. And I get hit with this all the time. Well, Statistically, this happens, or statistically, this happens. Yeah, but you see, you're missing an important point here. What is the causation? You're not showing me anything that the causation is actually race. Show me what the causation is. And if they can do that, wonderful. If not, we have a problem. Okay, so the final burden of proof went back to the black firefighters and to the city of New Haven, and they couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Now, you want to hear what's really happening? And let me tell you, I'm taking this right from the case. Okay. The city argued right in front of the Supreme Court that it was afraid that it was going to be sued by the black firefighters. So it illegally discriminated against the white firefighters. Okay, now just to put my little expression in here, you've got to be kidding me. So yeah, there's discrimination going on. The discrimination is you are discriminating against illegally, intentionally against the Hispanic and the white firefighters because you're afraid the black firefighters were going to sue you and you'd rather get sued by these people over here. Oh my gosh. And went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. All right, everybody with me? That is disparate impact. And it's a little complicated, but I want you to remember here, if you don't have the numbers in your area, say, well, you're discriminating against these folks. And oh, Michael Lacey, that supposedly happened at the Highway Patrol too. Yeah. And what you got to do is you got to bring in people who understand causation. So here's the sum. Just because someone shows you that you don't have enough of these people or those people, show me what's the cause. What is the cause? Is it because they just don't live in the area? Is it because, nobody's qualified? What is the causation? Don't just assume that it was because of bigotry or racism. You got to show that. That's what you have to show in any sociology report. That's disparate impact, and that's a little heavy. But I'll tell you, when someone sits down and they say, okay, I don't want to get sued with these people, against these people, so I'm going to stick it to these people over here. Let me ask you, a few years it took Mr. Ricci and Mr. Vargas and the other lieutenants and captains to get their promotions. What did that put them through? Did that shave years off their life? How many sleepless nights is that? And those of you who have been through my tolerance and brain session, your brain is the first organ to go when you are under chronic distress. And for 2 or 3 years, oh yeah, that will damage you. Now, here's my point. This shouldn't happen to anybody. If that was reversed and we were picking on someone who was Hispanic, or we're picking on somebody who was Asian, or we're picking on somebody who was Latino or black or whatever, I would have the same type of fervor. This shouldn't happen to anyone. That's dumb. Okay? So I'll tell you, the state attorney generals in 13 states sent letters to Fortune 100 companies saying, we're going to be on you. Okay, now you kind of see the way the world is fixing itself. We don't want these illegal tactics anymore. We don't want to see them anymore, just the illegal tactics. Now you see how bad it is when I talk to quote, quote, DEI traditional experts, and they just look at me like, what? What? What's the trouble? Okay, so what are we looking at? Look at your, well, first of all, you can't use quotas. Those are illegal. Look at your hiring, recruiting, retention, promotion, and advancement practices. Okay, is it fair for everyone and your suppliers? That's Title VII and the law. Is everybody with me? Questions? Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure you got all that, and particularly with the adverse impact, because my clients get smacked with that all the time. And I go right to the show me what the cause is. What's the cause of that? All right. Now, oops. There we go. Let's look at quotas. Let's look at quotas, because this just stands my arm hair on end. Okay. Now, a few years ago, the University of Michigan had legal quotas. Now, I just want to preface this that these have been declared illegal by the United States Supreme Court last year in the affirmative action case. But let's just look at this, because I still see people saying that this is okay. It's not. What the University of Michigan Law School did was they considered all the applicants, and if everything was even, and there was like a black applicant, a white applicant, and a Latino applicant, what they would do is give a little bit of a push, a little bit, like maybe 1%, and take the black applicant. That was declared illegal. But you understand, in employment, that still violates Title VII, doesn't it? You're not allowed to do that, okay? This was overturned, but I just wanted to address when somebody says, well, this is a legal quota. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a legal quota anymore, but this is what they're talking about. And here's what they said. They said, we expect that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary. Well, guess what? That was in 2003. Isn't that a little prophetic? Okay, so there's no such thing as legal quotas anymore. They're gone. Now, here's what got all of the big brouhaha, okay? Illegal quotas. And this is Gratz versus Bollinger. You don't have to remember that, but this is University of Michigan undergrad. Okay, now think how blatant this is. Think how blatant this is. If you happen to be black, and on a scale of 1 to 100, and you're applying to the University of Michigan to get in, if you were black, you automatically got 20 extra points. 20. Okay, now you kind of see, that's a lot, isn't it? I mean, if you were running a 100-yard dash against people your same gender, your same, because we'll get away from those controversies for right now, same age and all this stuff, okay. But I'm going to give you a 20-yard start. I am tremendously handicapped. Okay. And it really upset the students, black students, white students, Asian students, everybody. And they were selling donuts out at University of Michigan. And they said, okay, if you're white, donuts are $1. If you're black, they're 80 cents. Now, hats off to our youth. Isn't that a brilliant way to show what's happening here? The United States Supreme Court said this is illegal. We're going to strike it down. And we'll talk about the affirmative action case in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard in just a second. So you'll understand the affirmative action side here. But you understand, all quotas are now illegal. Thank you, Kevin. Stereotypes stink. Excellence is colorblind. Kevin, you're after my own heart. Oh, any Bengals fans out there? I know I got mostly Browns fans, okay? And I'm not even going to hold up my Cincinnati Reds cup, okay? So I don't care. Oh, I'm getting lots of thumbs there. Sports is the perfect analogy. I don't care. I don't care. All I care about is, can you hit the ball? Can you pitch the ball? That's all I care, okay? Oh, here's a good one, Tom. Have the OFCCP government contractor audits been changed to reflect these legal changes? I'm not really sure, but I still hear talk of quotas. And let me just kind of show you, Tom. Let's go with that because it's a nice segue. I still hear this. Companies need to establish goals for hiring more minorities. Okay? That's a quota. That is illegal. You can't do, well, you can do that, but someone like Stephen Miller is going to put a torpedo in your side, and rightfully so. And understand, let's go back here. If you illegally discriminate against someone who is white, isn't someone who is white going to pick up that boomerang and throw it back at someone who looks just like you? That's actually called competitive victimization. You do this to me, I do this to you, and up and up and up and up and up. I think that's kind of a pompous term, so I like boomerang bigotry. But, you know, Tom, that's a good question. I'm not familiar with what the OFCCP is doing right now, but I haven't gotten any calls from my clients on that, but I'll tell you right now, that is exactly what I have heard at these HR associations and chamber meetings. No. And it's still happening. Now, let me just show one up even more. Just this year, after the affirmative action case from the United States Supreme Court, this is what I heard from a vice president at Sherman. And I'm just, oh my gosh. He said, oh, no, you don't set hiring quotas, you set goals. Okay. Is anybody fooled by that? Okay. I think we need to go back to, I see dumb people. It's the same thing. No. And do you understand the harm? He said tomato. Yeah, semantics. Thank you. Absolutely. You kind of see my frustration on any given day. I got to go borrow my cat's scratching post just to scratch this thing and say, what is wrong with you? Do you understand the harm? Now let's go back. National Diversity Council. 1 million people have gone through their training. 1 million. And you would actually get certified to teach DE&I. And I will tell you, it is amazing the criteria when you start looking at those things. We got to change your perspective. Okay. Now, here's what I want. And understand, I am a big fan of diversity. I do not want anyone illegally discriminating against anyone. Everyone should get a chance. And so make a diverse applicant pool. Now, if any of you are recruiters, I just doubled your work. I just doubled it. You can't just go and listen or recruit just out of Cleveland or just out of Indianapolis or just out of Chicago. Oh no, I'm going to set maybe a 200-mile radius. I'm going to advertise all over. But it's never been easier with the internet. Okay, you've got to develop those diverse applicant pools. And guess what? You will find qualified people. That's the legal way and the moral way to do it. Everybody with me? Okay. Now let's get to the one that has caused all kinds of horrible heartburn, affirmative action. Okay, now understand what affirmative action is, okay, in colleges, okay? What happens is we want to make sure that we're letting in a certain number of applicants who are minorities. Okay, that was the idea. Now, this is the case I'm going to be looking at, students for fair admissions versus Harvard. And I just love this because I've heard so much information on this that is just wrong. It's just wrong. How do I know it's wrong? I read it. Okay, so if you're gonna quote something, read it. You should read it. And actually, if you're too lazy to read like I am, I mean, I'll listen to a couple of books every month. And if you're lazy like I am, then you get it on audio. How many people have ever heard of AI? Yeah, AI. You can't turn around and not hear about AI. Put the case into AI and it will read it to you. And I'll tell you right now, that sounds like a human. That sounds like a human. So let's look and see. Affirmative action. Okay, so what's happening here? Let me show you what's happening. That in this case, and this is right from the transcript, this is really why affirmative action was thrown out the window. Okay. If an Asian American applicant with certain objective characteristics, now what do they mean? It means to get into Harvard, you've got to have a certain level of test scores on your GREs or something, SATs. You got to have, this high level of score. You have to have a really good GPA, and you had to have participated in high school in a lot of extracurricular activities. Okay, so everybody with me? So we're going to consider everybody as having this minimum test score, GPAs, and extracurricular. Now, this is not a stereotype. This is a fact. This is a culture thing. The Asian Americans pretty much outpaced everybody when it comes to GPAs and test scores. Overwhelmingly. Oh, yeah. I always love this because I'll hear somebody say, oh, yeah, those people are smart. They study. Okay. They study. Mom and dad make them study. Okay. People like me, we went and played football and baseball. You know, my Asian friends all studied, and that's why they're doctors and I'm not. Okay. Well, if you hit those minimum scores, this is the actual admission from Harvard. 25% likelihood that Asian kid is going to get in. Now, are you hearing me here? These are the folks that are scoring the best. These are brilliant people. Why are they brilliant? Because they work their butts off. That's why. Okay. Now, 25% if you're Asian. If you're white, you had a 36% chance of getting in. Hispanic and blacks, 77 and 95% chance of admission, respectively. Now, you hear this? You hit those minimum standards. Black applicants had a 95% chance of getting into Harvard, and the Asians had 25%. Now, and understand, it was the Asian community who brought this lawsuit. This is illegal. Illegal. Now, I'll get this question a lot. Can we still have affirmative action programs? Yes, that you can go and monitor an affirmative action program. You are going to look at the last census, which would be 2020 census. You would look to see in your employment situation how many of these folks and those folks and everything live in this area, and you'll do a tally. And that's it. That's it. You will just see how you compare to the last census. You're not going to set goals. You might set a goal that says we're going to try to increase our diversity, but you're going to boost that applicant pool, and that's how you're going to do it. You're not going to give preference to somebody because that's illegal, in spite of the advice that I have gotten. Oh, don't call them quotas, call them goals. No, that's illegal. Everybody with me? Okay, now, this was all based on the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Equal protection. Okay, so you're supposed to apply these rules without regard to anyone's race, color, or nationality. Okay, and Justice Roberts wrote, for the guarantee of equal protection cannot mean one thing when applied to one individual and to something else when applied to a person of color. Yes, that's the Constitution. And this is the 14th Amendment. So guess what? You public sector employers out there, this case applies to you. You're not a college, you're not a university, public university, you're a fire station, you're a library. This applies to you because you are covered by the Constitution. Is everybody with me? All right. Yeah, we got a lot in the legal field. So you kind of see how there's so many illegal things going on. Now, let me hit one more thing here that drives me crazy. Tolerance versus acceptance. Okay, and I got this, I was at Shern's conference last year. That was the last one I'll ever do. And I got attacked over this. Oh, I don't want to be tolerated. Okay, you really should get with the program here. Do you understand that tolerance is now a legal term? The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals has adopted it. The EEOC has adopted it in its training requirements. And the United States Supreme Court in the Bostick decision mentions the term tolerance 7 times. Okay? No acceptance. Why? Because you don't have a right to tell people what to believe. You tell them how to behave. Okay, and I'll tell you, those are your requirements for your harassment training. If you have not instituted and included all of these factors into your harassment training, you are not in compliance with the EEOC, and those came out in 2016. So no, tolerance doesn't mean I tolerate you. Here's what it means. I'm not going to persecute you because you're different. And actually, this comes right from NASA, because the people who spoke up and complained that they shouldn't launch Challenger all got fired. Now, freeze right there. The best and the brightest of your engineers spoke up, and they all got fired, and all those astronauts died. You come into work. Is it safe? Is it safe for you to speak up at work? No, it's not safe. That's tolerance. Now, let me just make this real clear. Tolerance is not acceptance. And I've never seen a program put in place where they didn't require acceptance. All right. So let me ask you, does an employer have a right to tell you what to believe? No. You have to vote for Trump. You have to vote for Hillary. You have to vote for Harris. No. And I'll tell you, you're going to tick a lot of people off. But I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you how to behave. That I have on and off the job. You believe what you want to believe. And this goes right back to my case up in Holmes County, where the Amish ladies were working with this young woman to your left. And she broke away from the Amish. She hated the Amish. And she turned Satanist. Now, you notice the black hair. This isn't really her, but you get the idea. Black hair, black lipstick, black eyeshadow. Doesn't this sound like a Saturday Night Live skit? You got this Satanist working with these Amish ladies. And so I get a call. And the owner's all upset. So I drive all the way to Holmes County. And I sit down and use my EPR skills. Empathic listening, parroting, and rewards, which we're not going to talk about much today. But they tell me, well, we're being bullied. And we're a Christian organization. And we shouldn't have to work with a Satanist. Okay, you hear where they're coming from? So I sit back and I say, you know what? I will defend to the death your right to your beliefs. You're Christian fundamentalists. And I'll tell you, this is still America for right now. And you have a right to believe what you want to believe. I will back you up on that. But you don't have a right to those behaviors. We're going to talk about your behaviors. We're not going to talk about your beliefs. We're going to be very intolerant of your intolerance. And we spoke for an hour. Now, get this right here. If I turn around and I tell these Amish ladies that they have to be accepting of Satan, does anybody see a legal problem, particularly with the United States Supreme Court for religious accommodation we got last year? Oh my God, you do not want to do that. Now, if I go and I order those women, you have to be accepting, or you have. If I punch Bozo in the face, what's he going to do? Come right back at me. And that is what I have been telling you all day. The world is not going to be safe for anyone until it's safe for everyone. Everyone. You cannot single white guys out, black guys, Asian guys, whoever, disabled people. It's all the same. And that's why I encourage you to join me at FAIR in Ohio. And if you're in Kentucky or Indiana that don't have chapters, you join ours. You're welcome, and join FAIR. We are stronger together. We are going to be a force, okay? And it's going to be for everyone. Everyone should be safe. Make sense? Okay, well, that is a lot of stuff. I hope everybody's brain is full. These are our certification codes for today for you HRCI and your SHRM qualification or certification numbers. But I'll tell you, thank you, David. David put in the chat where to go to see FAIR. And so join up. Join up. FAIR is the one organization that I found that was so non-political and just really wants everybody. Everybody. And you should see that it's the only diversity program that I've seen anybody put on that actually has a white guy talking. You actually have, it really is diverse. You've got all kinds of folks in there. And I think that makes a big difference. Thank you. I love the comments in the chat, because I will tell you, this right here, this stuff right here, when you start studying suicides and depression here in the United States, this is right at the top. This is killing us. It truly is. And we've got to turn this around. All right. So all of you folks, and tell your folks this, if you didn't hear it or you want to hear this recording again, I'm going to have this posted. It will be, their link will be directly on Ohio Fair, and it'll be on my website. That way, you know, we're just going to link the two so you can find them easily, but just go to Ohio Fair and the links will be right there. And we're going to put more on there, okay, of what's happening in the world. And so, hey, I really appreciate all of your time and everything, but make sure that you steer everyone you know to these videos, and steer everyone you know to sign up for FAIR. Sign up, and we'll show our strength in numbers, and we will effectuate change. Okay. And I'll tell you, it'll be my dying breath. But I'll tell you right now that this is going to change. I am not going to leave a world that is unsafe this way for my sons. Okay. And I hope you feel the same way. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you so much for the comments in the chat. Any other questions or comments or anything before we break? All right. Well, hey, thank you so much. Don't forget, next month is the mighty subconscious. All right. That's going to be fun. And then December, we're going to look at humanization, which is exactly what we want. Oh, yes. Lily, yes. I will post a copy of the PowerPoint. Absolutely. Insomnia gives me some really cool slides, I think. And yeah, you might as well use your time productively, right? But honestly, I try to put humor in these things, but just, so we don't hang ourselves. But this is something we really need your help. We all need to stand together. I can't stress that enough. And because what is happening with traditional HR and DEI is going to be our undoing. And we will go the way of the National Diversity Council. And that ain't going to happen on my watch. Okay. All right. Hey, everybody, have a fantastic weekend, and mark us on your calendar. Invite everybody you know to join FAIR in their local state and FAIR National, because we want to be able to show we've got a lot of numbers behind us. All right. Okay. Everybody, take care and be a good human.